Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. My name is Nedalina Nasruddin. I am the host and the founder of Rise Up For You, and welcome to our Workplace Business Solutions podcast. Today, we have an amazing guest, and I'm super excited to talk with him. He is a former military service, he's a veteran, and he has transitioned as an entrepreneur, a business owner, and there's a lot that we're going to talk about, a very important topic. So just as a reminder, check us out at riseupforyou.com. It's an honor to be here, and let's get this show started.
Today, the workplace is more dynamic and diverse than it's ever been. 4 generations coming together to contribute to our economy's growth. But new challenges in the workplace are growing each and every day. This podcast brings corporate leaders to you, sharing solutions and strategies to enhance your company's culture and bring your people together. Rise Up For You presents its newest podcast series, Workplace Solutions. People matter.
All right. Welcome with us. We have Cody Hall. Cody, it's such an honor to have you here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, for having me. And by the way, I love the intro.
Thank you. So just a little fun fact. Some of you may know that I have recently moved to Las Vegas. So I'm back and forth between OC and Las Vegas. And Cody is the first person I met in Nevada.
Yes, number one.
Yes. So Cody, tell us a little bit about your background, about yourself and what you do. I know we're going to have a great conversation here in just a minute.
Wonderful. Well, I originated straight out of high school into the military, where I was fortunate enough to be involved with the Marine Corps Special Operations. And at that point in time, I got a hankering for education and leadership, just because you're kind of forced into this place where learn, lead. And it became something I became passionate about. Left the military, had the opportunity to work for great organizations like Apple and Amazon, and then start my own company. And so fast forward 6 years, and that's where we are today.
Awesome. So I'd like to touch on that a little bit, because I think it's really an important topic for anyone that has served. Well, thank you so much, first off, for that. But understanding the transitioning process. And, oftentimes we hear how it can be very challenging for a veteran to then, go back into civilian life, and especially in the workplace. So you've done very well. You've transitioned. You work for Fortune 500 companies, major corporations that obviously are household names. And then you've also become an entrepreneur and have multiple businesses and really doing great work. So I just want to understand a little bit more about your transition and what you think made that successful, because I definitely think that in the workplace, helping veterans transition successfully is a bit of a challenge. And I know that there's a lot of companies that still hesitate to help support veterans in the workplace and what that looks like.
Yeah. And so I'm involved with the Recon Sniper Foundation, which is an organization that's specifically focused on supporting veterans in their transition, creating a community and that new place they belong in the regular world, right? But I think when I transitioned, one thing that made me successful is I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't go out into the world thinking, oh, I'm going to do something similar to what I did in the military, or I'm just going to go to school and figure it out. I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so kind of having that, that azimuth, that direction where I wanted to head really helped me in regards to my decision making, what I wanted to study, so I didn't get lost along the major routes. And I knew I wanted to work for great companies. And then I was, as I encourage everyone to do, be bold. I applied for jobs I had no idea I was going to get. So, and then I ended up getting an opportunity to interviewing and being a military veteran with my experience, I stood out and I was different than the average person applying for those not so average companies. And so I took chances and I had a plan. It's not always that easy for everyone. I fell into a very stable situation because I was planning for over 1.5 years to get out of the military. So I knew where I was going to go to school, where I was going to live. I saved money to prepare for any hardships. So being a planner, like I am as a Capricorn, it was something that I was very, my favorite word is intentional. And what I did was intentional all along the way, where I was applying, where I was working and things like that.
And what do you think are some of the skills that you've learned while you served that have really served you in the workplace? Because I know myself, I've worked with executives that are veterans, and I've worked with professional, and there's a grind, there's a hard work, there's a loyalty, there's a commitment that's a little bit different. Not to say that other people don't have it,
Yeah.
but it's a pattern that I kind of see. So what are some things that you think are really valuable that you've learned that are incredibly valuable for the workplace that companies can really capitalize on and use to their professional advantage?
Yeah, I think being a veteran going into the professional environment, the corporate world, is like editing a photo, right? Depending on what you're editing, how much you want the exposure, the sharpness to be is depending on the job. But really, I assessed what people like about the military as workers, as leaders, and what about those people also is disliked. There are things we have to tone down, right? You can't talk to people the way you do in the military at the corporate world, right? But they want to still be able to drive for accomplishment, mission oriented, detail oriented, right? Self starters. Those are all great aspects of the military. But I think understanding the environment. So I first started off like my first gig, week one, was at UPS as a manager in a big sorting facility. And that was very militaristic. And a lot of the things that I was military applied to exactly what's going on at UPS. However, when I did all my multiple interviews for Apple and got a position there, my military isms had to be very watered down, very watered down. So my type A alpha personality, loud and charged, was not a place for the creatives and the free thinkers of the Apple. And so I found myself having to redo and reorganize all my little pieces on leadership and board to
Yeah.
be who I needed to be at a different organization like Apple.
What would you say were some things that you brought in that were really great that helped serve you? Like maybe discipline, hard work. What
Yeah. So one thing about the Marine Corps, especially Recon, is it's a dedication to skill set and ability. We night and day, weekends, we are focused on doing the best we can at what job and specialty that we've been assigned, whether that's communications or explosive specialties, and we practice it, we live it. And I think that's what made me successful at Apple. And I realized I needed to live this environment, become this leader. And I think that part of being in the military, that self propulsion, that drive, that motivation, and the dedication to being the best at that position, at that role, is what allowed me to adapt to that environment.
Yeah. Can just for our audience, in case someone doesn't know, can you tell us again what Recon is for anyone that is?
Yeah, of course. So the Recon community is a small group of Marines who focus on gathering information and doing very specialized mission sets for both traditional and non-traditional warfare.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's referred to as a special operation adjacent organization.
Okay. Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that.
no
So
worries.
today you've done very, very well for yourself. You've established multiple companies and you're doing some great work. Tell us a little bit about now that you're kind of on the opposite side, not really, but on the opposite side where
Yeah.
you're now recruiting and bringing in employees. What are some things that you think companies can do to help better support veterans that are transitioning into the workplace? Like, how can companies really do a great job? Because veterans are also part of DEIA, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and
Yeah.
oftentimes we forget that. So, how as companies do a better job to help support them as well so that they can transition successfully and that we can actually use their strengths in our companies?
I think to have the best blanket advice across the board is like cherish veterans and have the value in them for what they are, not what they're not. And that's every different diverse group. Veterans, what they do well, they do well. But also, I'm an anomaly. I ended up in HR. Not quite sure how that happened, but not. But throwing oftentimes most veterans into a hey, go deal with this person's feelings and try to understand where they're coming from and why they are acting the way they're acting. Probably those soft skills aren't going to be present for that veteran. But putting them in charge of a project, a launch, a department, a development, things like that, you want to leverage them for what they're good at, and don't ask a fish to climb a tree. But at the same time, veterans have a desire, a drive to be good at what they need to be good at for their career. So develop them. They have a desire to develop and a desire to be competent at what they're doing. So highlight their strengths and support their opportunities. That's a blanket across all
I love that.
different groups.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So, Cody, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing today, because I know you're doing some cool stuff.
When the last time we spoke, I was charging full speed at Octiva Healthcare. What I didn't tell you at that time is I was getting ready to step away. So on Friday, I concluded my transition to the new CEO at Octiva Healthcare, which was an organization I had built focused on supporting patients as they transition the difficulties and the complexities of healthcare. I did that for 3 years, and now I'm just stepping aside to take a break before my next company, which I'll launch sometime later next year.
Awesome.
So now I'm doing something that oftentimes entrepreneurs and very fast-paced, high-functioning people do, is take a break, focus on self-development, family development, and just exist for a moment before I start my next venture.
Awesome. And we'll have to have you back on when you start that next adventure. Very cool.
Very much so.
Cody, so I'd love to go into the rapid fire question, right? We have some questions.
Go for it.
Yes, I always love to ask, if you were to leave this world tomorrow, what's one golden nugget that you would share with the world?
Yeah. Relationships are currency. The people you have in your life, they are what really matter. The friends, the coworkers you cherish, your family. And I sound like a person on ivory tower sometimes. Money, titles, houses, things, they don't matter, because the thing that I really cherish is the people I have in my life.
That's awesome. And here at Rise Up for you, and I'm sure for you too, values are very, very important as an individual, as a company. What would you say is a value that's a non-negotiable for you?
Oh, geez. So many things. It's commitment. Commitment/loyalty. Because having that of a person in your life, an employee, a coworker, that you know it exists, you can trust what they say. So loyalty, definitely.
Awesome. And I have 2 more questions for you. The next one is, just tell us where we can find out about you, follow you on LinkedIn, like anything else. We'd love to just hear a little more.
Yeah, so you can find me at LinkedIn /CODHAL. You can follow me on my next year and a half of being a stay-at-home yoga dad, and then catch my next technology venture. I do a ton of podcasts, so you can see those. So they follow up on my LinkedIn. But my desire now for the next year and a half is just to hopefully support, inspire, and mentor people as they accomplish similar things or different things than I have.
Fantastic. And as you know, our company is Rise Up for You. So final question is, what comes to your mind when you hear that phrase?
Rise Up for You. I think that's identifying and understanding what success looks like for the individual, not in comparisons to your coworkers, your family, your friends, but what does it mean for you as a person?
Fantastic. So, Cody, thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing to have you here today.
Thank you.
All right. That was another amazing podcast with Cody Hall. Thank you so much for joining us. Honored to be here. Again, my name is Nedalina Nasserdeen. So just in case you're new to the podcast and new to Rise Up for You, we are all about enhancing company culture and your potential as an individual. Check us out at riseupforyou.com. Our strength and our superpowers are soft skills, emotional intelligence, leadership. So if your company needs some support, check us out. We do offer a free demo training, and we would love to be your partner. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time.